Yo, what's up? My name is Sean Taylor, also known as BrandManSean, and I'm the CEO of BrandMan Network. You have to first understand what a brand is, and if I want to super simplify it, understanding your brand is knowing everything that you should do, but also knowing everything that you should not do. All right, the things that you say you won't do make your brand probably even more so than the things that you will do. A manager and just somebody to help care about their brand is different, right? And I think everybody should care about their brand. It should be obvious in today's climate. Most artists think that when I'm trying to brand myself, they think aesthetic, right? Visual. And like, what does my video look like? But your brand is really how you connect with people, where you connect to people, what values do you have? And when you do that and you communicate those, they can forgive some of that other BS, right? Some of those visuals and all that stuff, and watch your journey as it, continues to level up. And then you have better quality to your videos. So one, it's important whether you need a manager for it or not at the beginning, right? Because everybody's not in that position, is to at least understand what those things are so you can connect with those people. When we look at an idea of a manager, though, since you asked that specifically, why I believe artists need managers, it's a lot of stuff to handle. Like, when you're on stage, who's handling this other stuff? When you're focused and in that zone in the studio, now maybe you don't call it a manager. Maybe you don't like the whole traditional relationship, just like people don't like the traditional, gender roles in relationships. Figure out your own situation, what you want to call it, blah, blah, blah. But you need somebody that you can trust who's going to be able to handle your business while you're in a creative space, because it's very hard to go back and forth. And every artist is not the entrepreneur business type. And those people definitely need some kind of CEO of their business. Yeah, so a lot of situations are just connections, honestly. That's really, there's very little, I send a cold email and now here we are. I have a brand, right? Either it's a connection because you've been building relationships over time and now you're top of mind. Somebody at a company has this activation idea and then somebody in the room says, yo, we should get such and such artists. And they have to know you a lot of times in the first place. And more likely, if it's you're perfect for it and this other guy's perfect for it and they know the other guy, then they'll go with the other guy or try to understand it. At the end of the day, people have to make it make sense from a business standpoint and be able to trust you as your own business and entity, not just, okay, he has some numbers on social media. So yes, there are some artists that might blow up and then people start to reach out to you, right? But the people who are making those deals from a business standpoint, 9 times out of 10, is usually a manager or somebody else that gets involved that already has relationships to capitalize. There's very little of this, all right, I just get my brand together, I'm gonna go hit up all these companies and like land some big money. So it starts by actually just being active and getting to know people, being out in those environments and letting people see you build. Now, if you want to start from a cold situation, then the best thing I always tell people is the same thing that you really should do with investors. You reach out to them, you tell them what your plan is, you like what they have going on, and then maybe ask them for some advice or something like that, or just get or how do you guys usually do endorsements, blah, 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 just something basic, right? But then you continually to maintain that relationship with that person by reaching out and kind of giving them an update on your situation. So over time, they start to see that you're trustworthy. They see there's progress. They see you're not just a random BS type person. That's one way to build the relationship from a cold route. And that's through social media. That's like one of the best. And then, send them some memes and stuff like that in between. I'm talking about hardcore, just practical, tactical stuff that everybody can do. The other way is, which is the main thing that everybody should be focused on, it's just build fans first. Like, if you focus on that as your main KPI, key performance indicator, like if you focus on that, a lot of that other stuff will come. And if you don't get the other stuff, you'll still be winning. Where the other way, if you don't get that other stuff when you're just chasing that, then you just end up with still no fans. And I do know people who they're on tours and they have brand partnerships, but they don't have any fans. So once they can't leverage those connections anymore, they might be able to parlay into other forms of the business. There's so many different ways to make money with music and still make music for money. But if your dream is to have that fan base and be that star in that way, you still have to have fans at the end of the day. Like that should be your focus. First, find an artist, multiple artists, honestly, if you want to do it faster, and work with them and do stuff for free. And this is just to learn. Cut your teeth and learn, because when it comes to marketing, there are things that you can do from a theory standpoint and understand, but it only comes from when you're actually doing it that you see all these small nuances and you get a feel to become really good at it. And there's some people who are just relationships, executive type person, corporate type people who are even further from the actual execution of it, and they rely on that structure. But if you want to be someone who just builds it up on your own, you definitely need to get out there to have that keen understanding, because it's also going to help you know what's required. Like, one of my biggest mistakes when I first started was just thinking that it takes less than it does. And when I say that, I'm talking about less money, right? Less infrastructure. It's like, yeah, I know everything to do, but at the end of the day, if I can't run this campaign, we just built the craziest, dopest video ever. You're the most talented artist, and your team is professional. They're on their stuff. One of the best closers, sales guys. Everything is together. However, we don't even have the money to push the videos, right? And then it's dropped in that abyss. Nothing happens, right? So get yourself out there. Really start to get a feel for what it's like to be a marketer. You have to have an experimentation mentality. And then also mentors is just always a thing. I could have done way better getting mentors or faster, all right? But getting mentors is always going to help you out. I like problem solver type people, people who think about stuff that isn't always already being done. I had a boss tell me one time, he said, if I have to tell you to do all this stuff or help you do all this stuff, then I don't need you, because your goal, like, you're supposed to be making my life easier. And it was weird at first. I was actually a student assistant at Georgia State at that time. But it clicked later when I started building for myself and you bring in new people. So that's one thing that's huge for me. That people who are going to not only execute what you say, but continue to think and try to figure out other stuff and try to help build and see beyond. Because I'm never looking for, especially at this state of my growth, I'm never looking for flunkies, people who are just a gear in the system and they're gonna do what you say, cool. Even if they do it perfectly and execute it perfectly, I'm looking for people who can rise with me, and then they get bigger positions and have other people below them. But those type of people, they think a certain. So you might start in one place because you need to cut your teeth and understand. So when you get higher up, you have a feel for how it's supposed to go, and nobody can screw you over. You just understand things. But that's the huge thing for me. So people who are already doing stuff already, they tend to already have that. They don't need anybody to tell them to do stuff. So I try to look for people who are already doing something, and then if they want to do something for me, then we can figure out how to make that happen. My name is Sean Taylor, also known as BrandManSean, and I support National CEG.